organize there's a skill there that I do not have. And those project management skills are so important. But to say that just basically in contrast, to highlight the differences, you need both. You need to have that tension. Otherwise, a copywriter without direction is just somebody writing words down. If you have a project manager who has no one to manage or no projects in which to manage, they're just sitting waiting for something to happen. So you need both. You need this tension constantly in life to kind of help you, find your way.
Yeah. I really love the fact that you're saying that it needs to be fun, because I really believe that people sometimes forget that most of their time when they're awake, they're at work. And
Yeah.
if you are not enjoying what you're doing and not having fun, not all day, but sometimes you really enjoy what you're doing, I just imagine wasting your most precious time just doing
Yeah.
something because you need to, because you have to. And it's so important that you see it as someone who's working with people and not just thinking about the results. Let's say it's this way. So could you tell us like a story about a brand? What?
I'm sorry. I was just going to really end one that real quick, and that was just to say that you have to enjoy the people you're working with too, not just the work you're doing.
Yeah,
And so I
of
think that's
course.
right. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. Go
for
ahead.
sure. Yeah, I totally agree. By the way, I had a talk like my last talk, and we talked about the fact that most people leave their job not because of the salary, not because if they get a vacation or not. It's because they don't like, most of the time, their managers. It's like too hard for them to
Yeah.
manage each day someone who they don't like to work with. And it's so
Right.
important that you choose people who could and love to work with people, which most people, when you're thinking, when they get to leadership, it's because they're so good in their profession. Yeah, you're a good lawyer, you have like a team of people working for you, and you're a good I know, designer, you have designers, then a team leader for design, whatever. But doesn't mean that you're good with people. You're good at what you're doing, right? and
Right.
and, and
And I
that's
think that's
that's a
a skill that
problem.
I didn't have most of my life, where I conflated the two. I thought they were mutually exclusive, and they're not. And it's really, and like I said, I'm still a work in progress, so I'm still learning these things. But I think in
Everyone
general,
is.
yeah, well, true. Um, if you can understand the people in which you work with, and there has to be some sort of like, you can't. I don't believe you can be and this is where the tension is again, right? But you can't. I don't believe you can be effective if you get so close that then you can't spring on somebody, hey, you're fired, after having them and their spouse over to have dinner with your family. You have to be pragmatic. You have to have a little bit of a space there so you can have those tough decisions when they happen. But I've been lucky to never have to fire anyone here. People
Wow.
have left on their own accord. Twice, I think, in a number of years, we've had people who struggled, and they both turned it around. One person ended up deciding it wasn't the career for them, changed their career entirely. But I believe once you're in the door, you're my responsibility, and then I'm going to work. I'm going to do my work ahead of time to make sure we bring the right people in. But once you're in. You're part of the family, and I will work as hard as I can to help you achieve your own goals. And part of that's where that trust starts to begin. And but again, you need a little bit of separation. So while I can probably tell you something personal about everybody in the office, which I pride myself on, and I love every one of them dearly. But while I can understand who they are and where they are at in life, to a point that they're willing to invest back to us, I still have to understand that this is a business, and so we have to have that tough thing. So that's the challenge of a leader, is to understand when's the right time to build somebody up, when's the right time to rebuke softly and in private, when do you exalt people in a crowd, and when do you have smaller groups to challenge each other and to have those hard conversations. And that's really the key, is understanding how to
Yeah.
do all that stuff. And again, I'm learning it, but I'm trying.
Yeah, that's good. We are learning and trying to be better all the time, and we all need to make decisions upon what we know at that time and to make the decision. So, um, like self-compassion is important in any case. So, I want
Yeah.
you to give me an example of a brand that you worked with, and maybe you could tell me how do you see this point of view of working with human for humans change the way that you're doing your work.
Wow, that's a big question. Well, I can tell you, there's one that comes to mind, and that's one called In Good Taste, and it's a wine company. But I'll use that as an example, as a larger, as kind of a, I'll use it as a microcosm of explaining this. We start all brands at the beginning, either a rebrand or a new brand, a brand creation from a point of view of an archetype. And if you're familiar with Carl Jung and his Jungian archetype, now we call them Jungian. He didn't call them that, but there's 12. Basically, they're not really personality traits, but they're kind of a way that we see the world. And you probably be familiar with them, or your listeners might be. Things like the hero, the